We preview the Chicago Bears season and tell you if they go over or under their season win total of 6.5, and we tell you how you can take home $1,000 this NFL season, and it all starts right now. What's going on, everyone? It's Matt from Grandstand Bettors, and last year we cashed on 70% of our season win total predictions, so we thought, hey, let's run it back here in 2022. Also, we're excited to announce that our second annual NFL betting contest is now open for signups. That's over at grandstandbettors.com. You can find the link in the description. Sign up for free for your chance to win $1,000 in other great prizes throughout the NFL season. But without further ado, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smack that like button, because it is time to dive into the Chicago Bears season preview. And the Bears, they have a season win total of over under 6.5. Now, the Chicago Bears have been in a bit of a slump here for the better part of a decade. In the last 10 years, they've only made the playoffs twice. And after last season's 6-11 finish, they finally, Chicago Bears fans, parted ways with GM Ryan Pace and head coach Matt Nagy. They will be led this season by Matt Eberflus, who was a Colts defensive coordinator here for the past few seasons. Now, you can change the guys upstairs and on the sidelines all you want, but that doesn't really change what you have on the field. Now, for the Bears, the key to this season is obviously going to be second-year quarterback Justin Fields. After starting the season last year sitting on the bench behind Andy Dalton, he did not end up finishing with the best numbers in his rookie season. He did have 1,870 passing yards with only 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 12 games. Now, what he lacked, though, in the passing game, he made up for in his rookie season by running the ball. He did average 5.8 yards per carry and 35 rushing yards per game. Fields, very athletic and still, really, in our opinion, has something to prove from dropping all the way to 11th overall in last year's draft. But he could use a much better offensive line if he wants to stay healthy. Last year, they started addressing this by selecting Tavon Jenkins and Larry Borom. Along with rookie Braxton Jones, they have a solid future for their offensive line. And they added a couple veterans to help them out in the short term as well. They brought in Riley Reif at left tackle from the Bengals and Lucas Patrick at guard from the Packers. This should help boost their run game. And speaking of the Bears' run game, they have a very good running back in David Montgomery, who was coming off a 1,000-yard season in 2020. He did only end up with 849 yards, though, last season. Although they do not have any top-tier wide receivers, Darnell Mooney surprised a lot of people last season, especially with his speed, and free agent Brian Pringle was a nice addition in free agency. Now, Fields has a tight end, Cole Kmet, out of Notre Dame that averaged 10.2 yards per reception last year, and rookie Jones out of Tennessee has a lot of potential, especially with this offense. On the defensive side of the ball, the Bears had an average season across the board, except for their secondary. The secondary ended up third in the league, only giving up 191 yards passing per game. Where they really fell short, though, was forcing turnovers. They ranked 26th in the league in takeaways, and the focus of Eberflus is going to be defense. His time with Indy was being a defensive coordinator and always forcing turnovers. This defense needs to create turnovers, especially with the guys that they lost in free agency. First and foremost, Khalil Mack, who that's a huge dent in their line that's open, and it's mostly going to be filled by Robert Quinn, who did have his career best season, 8.5 sacks last year. They also lost lineman Akeem Hicks, a few cornerbacks, and safety Deion Bush. Now, they're going to need a big year from linebacker Roquan Smith, who led the team with 163 tackles last season. They do have a good group of rookies coming in, which will help this defense, but they're definitely going to need to take a step back, they are definitely going to take a step back at pass rush with that loss of Mack. Now, as we mentioned before, the Bears, they finished last season with 6 wins, and that is with having the 3rd hardest schedule in the NFL last season. This defense might not be lights out, but they still have the pieces to put together solid numbers on that side of the ball, and they're most likely going to get the attention from their new head coach, especially with his background. Offensively, we expect Fields to take a step forward this season. With a revamped offensive line, Montgomery should have a much better season, and Fields will have more time in the pocket to find his receivers down and make timely and good, hopefully good, decisions. Now, the fact that their win total is at 6.5 this season with the 24th hardest schedule seems a bit too low to us. They have 8 or 9 very winnable games on their schedule, and with Matt Nagy no longer leading the way, and I know Bears fans, you are excited about that, they should have no problem hitting that mark. So we are going to take the Chicago Bears over 6.5 wins this season. Well, that finishes up the NFC North previews. So we are now going to dive into the NFC East with the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles and Commanders coming up real soon. In the meantime, don't forget to sign up for our NFL betting contest at grandstandbettors.com. We're giving away great quarterly prizes again this year, with the grand prize being $1,000 of cold hard cash. As always, though, sit back, relax. If you're a Bears fan, you have some real optimism about the season, and at the very least, no more Nagy.